grand uncle, grand nephew. I know he's old. Grand nephew of Frederick Douglass.
How's everybody doing? It's a little warm out here. Just a little. That's lovely. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, elders, veterans, and community leaders, and all those here that are gathered. I'm honored to stand before you as honorary Dr. Tarence Sr., and I'm before you not simply as an individual, but as a representative of a people, a community, and a legacy that stretches back through centuries of struggle and faith and perseverance. My story is not unique. In fact, my story is the same story of millions of African Americans. It's a story of a people whose history was hidden, whose names were erased, whose families were separated, and whose contributions to this nation were too often ignored. For much of my life, I did not fully understand who I was. I did not know the depth of my family's connection to this nation's history. I did not know these things because many of my elders chose silence. Not because they were ashamed, not because they wanted to forget, but because they understood the world that we live in. They understood that there was a time in America where a young black boy could not go through the streets proclaiming that he was of the lineage of Frederick Douglass without consequences. My elders did not want me running through the neighborhood screaming Frederick Douglass was my uncle. They did not want me drawing attention to a family history with Harriet Tubman or other giants in history. They knew that something that many young people may not understand. That they knew that survival required caution. They knew that pride sometimes had to be carried quietly. Yet despite every effort to erase us, despite every effort to suppress our history, the truth survived. As usual, the truth always survives. And today I stand before you as a beneficiary of that truth. As America approaches its 250th anniversary, we hear a great deal about celebration. We hear about patriotism, the founding fathers, independence, and these things do deserve recognition. But I believe there is a question that must be asked. A question inspired by one of the greatest Americans who ever lived. Frederick Douglass once asked, what to this American slave is the 4th of July? Today I ask, what is the 250th anniversary of America to African Americans? What does the milestone mean to descendants of those who built this country without compensation? What does it mean to the descendants of those who cleared the fields, built the roads, harvested the crops, raised the wealth, and laid the foundation upon which this nation has become a global power? What does it mean to those whose ancestors were counted for representation and denied the representation themselves? And what does it mean to those whose blood enriched the soil of America long before they were recognized as full citizens? These are not questions intended to divide. These are questions intended to deepen our understanding, because the nation that refuses to confront the history cannot fully understand its future. The history of America is not simply a story of triumph. It is also a story of contradiction. The Declaration of Independence claimed that all men are created equal, yet millions remained enslaved. And the Constitution established liberty, yet many were denied its protections. This nation spoke of freedom while practicing bondage. The nation spoke of justice while permitting injustice. Yet, despite these contradictions, African Americans never stopped believing in the promise of America. This is the greatest of miracles of our history. Think about that. And people brought in chains still found a reason to believe in freedom. And people denied citizenship still believed and fought for this nation. And people denied justice still believed in justice, believed that justice was still possible. And people denied equality still fought to protect the union. And that is not weakness. That is extraordinary faith. Frederick Douglass understood this. Many people quote him when he would criticize America, but few will quote him when he defended the Constitution. Douglass called the Constitution a glorious liberty document. He believed that principles contained within it were worthy of defense. And as a combat veteran, I do agree. The Constitution is a glorious document, but it remains glorious only when it is applied equally. And right enjoyed by some but denied to others is truly not a right. A law enforced selectively is not justice. Carmelo Anthony. The Constitution interpreted through its prejudice loses its power. The promise of America has never been the problem. The challenge has always been whether America would live up to the promise. As we approach this nation's 250th anniversary, we must ask ourselves, have we fully lived up to that promise? Can we honestly say the work is complete? Can we say that justice has fully arrived? I can say that unequivocally and without any type of doubt, the answer is no. The work continues. The struggle continues. The mission continues. We still face challenges involving voting rights. We still face disparities in wealth, education, healthcare, and these boundaries, these things we face, our ancestors were quick to notice. And yet, despite these challenges, we keep moving forward. This is what our people have always done. We move forward. Our ancestors moved forward when they had every reason to quit. Imagine the strength it required to survive slavery. Imagine the strength required to survive family separation. Imagine the strength required to survive laws specifically designed to keep you oppressed. And yet they survived. Not only did they survive, they built, they created, they organized, they resisted, they dreamed, they believed. Some people may look back at slavery and the only thing they see is hopelessness and just everything bad and terrible. But I look back and I see strength. They transformed scraps into meals. They transformed cabins into communities. They transformed faith into action, and they transformed pain into purpose. I see people who transform oppression into a movement for freedom. What is there to be ashamed of? Not a thing. Far too many of our people have been taught to view Africa as something to escape from rather than something to understand. Far too many have conditioned to believe that proximity to whiteness somehow increases their value. Far too many have been taught to minimize their ancestors instead of celebrating them. I have watched people conduct genealogy research to prove that they are anything but African. Think about that. Imagine searching your family tree to discover, not to discover who you are, but to escape from who you are. That is not pride. That is a legacy of centuries of psychological warfare. This is the legacy of a society that taught you to question their worth. Their own worth, rather, I'm sorry. But I stand here today to say clearly, there is nothing wrong with being African. There is nothing wrong with descending from the enslaved. There is nothing wrong with having ancestors who worked fields, cleaned homes, built railroads, and picked cotton. There was nothing, these ancestors, they built America. Those ancestors survived, but many others could not. Those ancestors gave us every opportunity that we have today. You are here because of them. We honor them not by hiding them. We honor them by remembering them, by teaching their stories, by preserving their communities, and defending their legacy. We honor them by continuing the work and protecting voting rights, preserving historical African American sites, supporting Black institutions, and teaching an accurate African American history. The work includes strengthening families and building economic power. The work includes accountability from government. The work includes ensuring that future generations understand where they came from. Because people who know their history cannot be manipulated. They cannot be erased. They cannot be conquered. This is why history matters. This is why heritage matters. And this is why genealogy matters. This is why organizations dedicated to preserving African American history matter. History is not merely the past. History is about identity. It's about purpose. History is about understanding the sacrifice that made our lives possible. As we celebrate the 250th, let us also tell the whole story. Let us celebrate Washington, Jefferson, Adams, but let us also celebrate Douglas, Tupper, Truth, Turner, Bishop Alexander Wayman. Let us celebrate countless of unnamed men and women whose names never appeared in the textbooks, but whose labor built this nation. America belongs to them. It is their story. Its victories are their victories. Its future depends upon their descendants. That's us. My friends, I remain hopeful. I remain hopeful because our ancestors survived worse. I remain hopeful because our generation has expanded freedom. I remain hopeful because truth cannot be permanently buried. I remain hopeful because young folks are asking questions. I remain hopeful because communities are rediscovering their history. I remain hopeful because there are people still willing to fight for justice. The story is still being written. The question for us is simple. What kind of nation will we leave? Will we leave behind a nation that ignores its past? We leave behind a nation that we built. Will be mature enough to confront it. Will we leave behind a nation divided by fear or united by truth? Will we leave behind a nation trapped by old prejudices or strengthened by a mutual respect? The answer depends on us. It depends on what we teach. It depends on what we preserve. It depends on what we are willing to defend. I got any veterans in the house. So we all know this here we will defend. As for me, I will continue to tell the story. I will continue honoring my ancestors. And I will continue preserving the history of our people. I will continue fighting for justice. And I will continue believing in America, in the promise of America, while demanding that America live up to that promise. And I encourage each of y'all to do the same. As we celebrate 250 years, let us remember that freedom is not a destination. Freedom is a responsibility, it's a struggle, it's a commitment. And freedom requires every generation to do its part. May we be worthy of those who came before us. May we honor their sacrifices and their legacy. And may we continue the unfinished work. Because history is never fully written. It changes by the minute. I want to thank y'all for having me. I want to thank my wife, Michelle, for supporting me and the third year here. And we really enjoy coming here. And we are our history. We are our ancestors. Don't let anybody tell you any different.